Hey, Dave Paulides again for the Can-Am Missing Project. Thanks for being here. And this copyrighted edition. Wow, the last video instigated a lot of thoughts and great ideas, and your posts were outstanding. Thank you for everyone who chimed in. More comments on this last video than any video I've ever made, and I appreciate it. Appreciate your thoughts and ideas. Some of you may think that I get upset about contrarian views. Honestly, I don't. As long as they're presented politely and respectfully, as I would expect you from me, I'm all for it. I think the exchange of ideas opens our minds. And when you read something and you don't quite understand it, you don't quite get it, that might be the time to step back and look at it from a different view. So, away we go. We're going to talk about Skinwalker Ranch today and a few other things. Before I get off my last video, I wanted to read you something that was in this morning's Great Falls Tribune newspaper, and I want everyone to think about it. It was an article about what the governor in Montana is doing, which shocked the heck out of me. And here it is. Starting Friday, which is today, 73 Army and Air National Guard members from Montana will be used in 11 cities and 17 locations statewide to screen people arriving into Montana by air or rail in response to COVID. Governor Steve Bullock issued a directive Monday that travelers arriving from another state or country to Montana for non-work-related purposes undergo a 14-day self-quarantine. His directive authorizes the National Guard to do temperature checks at Montana airports and rail stations and screen for potential exposure history for travelers arriving in Montana from another state or country. So I forwarded that to a few of my friends, and I got a pretty interesting response. And they said, well, Dave, obviously it's not for a serious and objective screening of people coming into the state, because 90% of everyone coming into Montana arrives by car. And as of right now, there's only 1/3 of the flights that normally fly into Montana are flying in. And I just checked, and the one flight into northern Montana today had 54 people on it. So you could stand on any overpass of the major freeways coming into the state and see cars non-stop going under the freeway coming in from Wyoming and North Dakota and Idaho. So really, what's going on? Why would they pick airports and rails? Because the truckers coming in are traveling all across the U.S. Now, God bless the truckers, because without them, we wouldn't get our food and etc. So we need them. Thank you. But what about all the other people that are traveling in? Well, my friends reminded me that this is being paid for by the federal government through the National Guard. And the federal government is paying for this stopping of passengers coming off planes and rails, not the state. So it appears that the state wants to look like they're doing something, so all right. Now, soon, I don't want to say anything more about the coronavirus at this point, but pay attention to it. Skinwalker Ranch. Why am I talking about it? What's it related to Missing 411? Well, first of all, I know a little more about it than most people because of a variety of reasons. First of all, I was supposed to go to the ranch right before it was sold this last time to the Salt Lake City real estate developer. And George Knapp and I were scheduled to go out, and he had invited me to come. And what happened, I don't know, but I didn't go, and it might have been a blessing. But why George? George Knapp and I have known each other for many years. I've probably done 15 or 20 shows with him. We've gotten together privately many times, and he's introduced me to some people that have helped me immensely. So George has been a big believer in the research, knows it's factual, knows it's important, and he's helped me. I'm greatly appreciative. And he's been to the ranch many times. We've had private conversations about it. Now, Skinwalker Ranch was originally owned, before Robert Bigelow bought it, by the Shermans, who ran a cattle ranch on it. And Robert Bigelow bought the ranch for $200,000 from the Shermans. And then he put a team on there called the National Institute of Discovery of Sciences, a group of physicists and others, namely special forces and things, that were on that ranch 24/7, and it put a surveillance system on the property. And they were trying to study the aerial phenomena on the ranch to get a better understanding of really what was going on. And it's quite interesting because I don't know if they ever really got it right. Meaning if they ever really pulled a lot of data off of it that was useful. Because of that, after many years and many dollars, Bigelow pulled the team off. But while that team was there, they went across many places in North America looking for other evidence to support the aerial phenomena that was going on. So let's talk about this. I've always stated for many, many years that Missing 411 has a lot to do with water. And what do I mean by that? 80% of all the disappearances are with 200 miles of water. That's number one. And why is that important? Could be a variety of reasons. But let's think about this for a minute. At the Skinwalker Ranch, the first time I met George, I asked him if there was any large bodies of water in the area. He said, yeah, Dave, there is. Just a mile north, there's a place called Bottle Hollow Reservoir. And it was built in 1970 by the Department of Reclamation for the Ute Indian tribe that is just essentially surrounding the ranch. Now, the Utes are very important to this story for a variety of reasons, and we'll get to it in maybe the next session or the next tape I make about this. But Bottle Hollow is one huge body of water that's very near the ranch. The other one is that there's a creek river that runs through the ranch, and on that creek river, at one point in the winter, it froze. And NIDS found a section of this pool that had an etching in it of almost a perfect circle, concentrically designed. And it was something that they couldn't figure out how it was done, and it baffled them. Now, Colin Kelleher was the head of NIDS and a brilliant, brilliant man. And when you get that guy in something, he's going to figure it out or he's going to die trying. So they never did quite figure out how that etching was made on the water. But going back to Bottle Hollow for a second. Why is it important to me? Let's go on with this. So in 1998, a police officer working the area of the reservoir saw a bright light enter the reservoir. And he documented it. In 2002, 4 young men as a group were near the reservoir, saw another big body of light enter right near the shore. It not only entered, but they saw it come out at another position of the reservoir in a different shape, also brightly lit, and then took out over towards Skinwalker Ranch and disappeared over Skinwalker Ridge. And there is your connection, number one, to the ranch. It didn't go any other way. It went right to the ranch. So, I think it's all important. You know, for some reason, water and the proximity of water is important. Now, the National Institute of Discovery of Sciences had physicists assigned to the team that were on that site all the time. Brilliant people trying to figure out what was happening. Now, I saw the recent segment on Tuesday night about the ranch, and I thought it was okay. It was made by Prometheus, the same company that made my Vanish special. I'm a little concerned that they're not giving the proper emphasis to the Utes and the native tribe and its emphasis on that ranch. We'll see if it's done as we go forward. Now, not only are there huge boulders and a ridge and water, but there's also one case of a missing person within 80 miles of the ranch. But that's the only case. Now, in law enforcement, there's an old saying, you don't poop in your own backyard. It's a little cruder than that, but you don't. And what that meant was, when criminals committed a series of crimes, they never did it close to home. Number one, they didn't want emphasis on their area, and they didn't want police scouring that part of the city because they might stumble into them. But the other reason is that witnesses in that area would probably recognize them. So I've always kind of had this in the back of my mind when I think about Louisiana, Mississippi, totally filled with water. Marshy areas everywhere. And then you think about Skinwalker Ranch and Bottle Hollow Reservoir, and you think of all the activity there. Almost seems like it's a home for something. I don't know what. I don't think anybody knows what, but it's a home for something. And maybe that's why nothing missing 411-wise has disappeared anywhere around there that I'm aware of that matches. The closest case in 1951 involves a guy named John Red Young, and he was 24 years old at the time. And he's a brilliant young man. He spent 2 years in the Army Air Corps in Germany, came back, and went to Pitt University, graduated in 3 years with a degree in geology, and was immediately hired by Gulf Oil. And Gulf put him in Salt Lake City, Utah. Made friends with people immediately. And one of his friends, his boss, asked him to go deer hunting with him near the Brook Cliffs about 80 miles south of the ranch. The guys got there late in the afternoon. Remember, missing people, biggest time to disappear, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And they arrived there, and they decided to go deer hunting. And Red told the boss, hey, you have the hunt first. I'm going to walk out about a half mile, and I'm going to do a half-mile radius sweep around the area where you're staging. And then I'll come back, and I'll try to push the deer towards you. And he said, I don't need my gun. I'm just going to put it down. And he took off. Well, late that afternoon, his boss started to get nervous, and the snow started to fall. Well, Red didn't return. His boss called the local sheriff, and Herbert Snyder was the sheriff at the time. He arrived, and there was about 2 or 3 inches of snow on the ground. The sheriff made a comment that, well, that kind of wipes out all the tracks I was looking to find. But my view on that is, that also makes it easier to find if there's snow on the ground. You could follow the tracks. But the sheriff said, oh, that's going to make it more difficult. He ended up rallying 75 people for 2 weeks to search for Red. Red's father flew out from the East Coast, knew his son as well as most dads do know their sons, and made a comment that, my son's too smart for this to happen. And for them not to find him, that worries me. So maybe he has some kind of amnesia. Well, amnesia these days isn't used really like it was 50, 100 years ago, thrown around as an excuse. I don't believe Red had amnesia. They never found his body. A sheriff from Carbon County came out and brought his bloodhound. Never picked up any tracks, never picked up a scent. Red was never found. Concerning case. But the ranch is in that far northeast sector of Utah. The area of Wyoming, southern Wyoming, stretching from about the northern reaches of the ranch into that state and heading east, has a series of disappearances. There's a few disappearances in Colorado about 100 miles due east of the ranch. And there's a cluster of disappearances about 125 miles west of the ranch. But the area around the ranch, there's really nothing. But that's more of a red flag to me than it is to walk away and not think about it. There are many, many things in the ground, on the ground, in the air that have happened at the ranch that are due for discussion. As would anybody with an investigative background, your first inclination is, well, I wish I would have been the one to go to the ranch. And that's why I asked George if he'd take me, and he said sure, and it was planned for weeks. At the last minute, canceled. But then I heard from people who had been at the ranch that were also super smart people, that some people have come to the ranch and have left and gone home and taken some type of entity with them. And it had scared the crap out of them and their family. The stories are kind of vague, like strange things would happen in the house, people would see things nondescript in the house, and it was all after one of the people in the house had been to the ranch for an extended period of time. And this happened to many people, not just one or two. So it had happened many times. It never happened to George. In fact, George said, thank God it didn't happen to me. But, and it didn't happen to Colin, the best I know. But some of the security personnel, I think it did. So, thank you for all your comments on the last video. Thank you for staying tuned. I'm in this place in life where I have some extra time, and I saw how many people jumped on the last video, so I'm gonna try to do this as much as I can in a short period of time. Try to pump these out a little faster than I did before. No promises. A few of you, in fact 4 of you in the last day have asked why I can't order a book. The store's closed. I've got back orders on books from the publisher. I'm waiting for the printer to get going on them, so I don't have really much of an inventory right now, so I don't want to open up and get people disappointed. Hopefully about the 15th of April we'll have it going again, and I'll have the books being shipped out again. Hopefully I'm outside again. So I want to give you guys at least that small segment of you out there that like to complain, give you something to complain about, but the wind isn't blowing, the sun's out, you can see my face. So let's see what kind of complaints I get now. In the meantime, I want everyone to spend at least a minute tonight thinking about something that disturbed me a lot. And that was, I saw an article early this morning about the outskirts of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it was a food bank that had a line of cars a mile long. And these people, hourly workers probably, people who don't have a lot of money in the bank, people who are working week to week, they don't have enough to eat. And that disturbs me a heck of a lot. As somebody who's been blessed in life, I've always had good jobs. I've always had a good family supporting me. I'm in a position where I can help my own family, my kids, my relatives. I cannot believe that our country would allow our people to go hungry like this. It's disturbing. If it wasn't for the good graces of other people out there like you that are working the food banks, that are donating, that are helping those in need, what would happen to these people? I can't believe it. Our country shuts down itself purposely. And our people like you and me go hungry. I was laying down last night thinking about this, going, like, it's like an X-Files episode, really. And I hope this doesn't last long, because the longer it lasts, the more families are going to be in this position. I know it. And the kids out there, the young people that, you know, are the people that help us daily at the market, at fast food, etc., that are just trying to make it. How are they doing it? It worries me a lot, folks. And it's our family, you and me and the 101,000 other subscribers that I'm blessed to have. I mean, take a minute tonight and think positive thoughts, and hopefully something will come about, and we can get out of this mess we're in and help these people. Thank you very much for watching and being part of my channel. I don't take it for granted. I'm blessed. I'm blessed because you're my friend. Thank you, and I hope I'll be back with you soon. Have a great week.